What's going on, duelists? It's your boy Nick, bringing you today on the channel a combos and test hands video for my Ninja Krawler deck profile for the post-Phantom Nightmare format. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nick. We do Yu-Gi-Oh! Content mainly focused around rogue and casual decks alike. If that's the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you're interested in, then I highly encourage for you to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss out on any more of my uploads. We are currently working our way to 1,500 subscribers, and we are closer than ever to reaching that goal, and it's all thanks to your continued support. So like I said, if you're watching this, subscribe, like the video, and we're going to get down and dirty with some really cool Ninja Krawler combos. So with the intro out of the way, I did update this deck list post-profile, which I will be leaving the link to the profile down in the description below. If you haven't watched it, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's a very cool deck list. Nothing major as far as the deck list changes go. We're actually going to talk... I subbed the Krawler Axon I was playing in the original build for a Krawler Receptor, just because this card gives you better follow-up, given that it searches a Krawler monster, and I felt that the spell trap removal for Axon, while nice, just wasn't as proactive. So we subbed the Axon for a copy of Receptor. Then, in addition to that, I also changed the hand trap lineup slightly. We're still maining the 3 Droll, but I cut the Ghost Bells for 2 copies of Contact C, just so I've been testing with this card, and it's actually been working out pretty well. It might just be Copium talking, but I mean, I'm choosing to test it. This is a casual fun deck anyway, so you know what I mean? It's just a card that I wanted to try. And we were playing 3 Bells, so you're probably wondering where the 3rd slot went. That's actually because I'm choosing now to play 1 copy of the Tenchi Kaimei Ninjutsu Art Field spell, which we were not playing previously. I felt that this card, while it's not a starter or extender, it's still very nice to have as pseudo removal for the deck, and much needed removal at that. Whenever a ninja does battle damage, you can target a card in the field, destroy it, and that is not once per turn. Pairs very nicely with Maizen, the battle ninja, in the extra deck, given that he lets all ninjas attack directly. So I felt that having the Tenchi Kaimei in the main board was pretty good. So that was it for the main deck changes, and then the extra deck underwent some minor changes as well. We are playing a copy of Ultimate Great Insect now that we are currently back on a field spell. This card becomes a lot more relevant. So we're running that. And then I cut the Yaguramaru Ninja down from the 2 of that it was to a 1 of, and that was to accommodate a copy of Triple Burst Dragon in the extra deck. Actually, I lied, excuse me. I cut the Yaguramaru for the Ultimate Great Insect, and then, you know, so we're just playing 1 Yaguramaru, 1 Ultimate Great. And then what I did is I took out the Crusadia Equimax we were playing for a copy of Triple Burst Dragon, just because I feel like it's a lot better in this deck. Given that this deck does tend to focus on flipping everything face down, this card does piercing damage. It's also a negate. It can float into a level 2, Link 2 from Graveyard, which is pretty cool. So we're choosing to test with it in this particular list. But that's it for the deck changes. Nothing else changed, like I said. Just tweaking the consistency slightly. So, obviously you guys are here for combos, and that's exactly what we're going to start with. So, let me show you guys the Girsu Mech Knight combo into a Deus Ex Krawler on your first turn. It actually is possible through 1 card on top of it, which is nuts. So you're going to go ahead and normal summon the Girsu, the Orcust Mech Knight. Upon normal summon, it's going to allow you to send an Orcust or World Legacy card from the deck to your graveyard. Now, the card you're going to be sending for that is a copy of your World Legacy's Mind Meld, directly from deck to grave. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to utilize the secondary effect of the Orcust Mech Knight, which states if you control no other monsters, you can special summon 2 World Legacy tokens, 1 to your field and 1 to your opponent's. So we're just going to give that to our opponent, obviously. And then you are now able to have 2 free bodies on board. What you're going to do here is you're going to link off the token and the Girsu. And you're going to do that to go ahead and make a copy of Lib, the World Key Blade Master. Obviously, remember, this is just the token you gave to your opponent. We don't need to keep it there. You guys understand that they have a token. Which is good, actually, because now that means that if they were holding Imperm for whatever reason, now they can't even use cards like Impermanence, nor can they go like evenly matched, you know, on the Crackback, which is obviously pretty cool because they control a monster. And they can't Lightning Storm us either, which is obviously really strong. So now that we have the Lib, before we do have to link summon this card, you have to control a World Legacy in the graveyard, or have a World Legacy card in grave in order for you to link summon it. But Lib is obviously a very cracked Link 2. What you can do is while she's on the field during the main phase, you can set a World Legacy spell trap directly from your deck to the field. So we're going to set our copy of World Legacy Pawns off the Lib, the World Key Blade Master, and then We cannot activate that spell trap this turn while we have no World Legacy monsters in our graveyard, but again, that's not really relevant because we're going to be using this in the opponent's turn anyway. And then it does have a secondary effect. If it's linked, sent to grave as link material, we can shuffle a card from the field into the deck. That's a very good removal because it doesn't target. But what's crazy is that the Mind Meld that we sent off the Girsu, it has a graveyard effect that states you can banish this card from your grave and then target a link monster on the field, and then special summon a Krawler monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard to your zone that target points to in face down defense position. So this is effectively like an E-Telly for any Krawler from deck. And as you can see here, lid points to bottom left. So that's going to allow us to get into our Deus Ex Krawler on our first turn off of one card. Remember, we just started with the Girsu, and that's our Deus Ex Krawler line. And then on the opponent's turn, we actually do have World Legacy Pawns, which this card is pretty much a Book of Moon and Book of Taiyu for Krawler monsters specifically. So during the draw phase, or for example, in the opponent's turn, we can target a face-down monster we control, change it to face-up attack or defense. So we can target our Deus Ex, flip it face-up, defense, and now that it's been flipped, we effectively have a one-sided skill drain lock on our opponent. And like I said, that's just off of a single Girsu. So very cool first turn combo. Like I said, Girsu in this deck is extremely powerful. Again, that's only really great if you're going first. If you're going second, like I said, if you watch the deck profile, you'll see that we smoke screen into a Shadal package. Because it's better suitable for going second as opposed to the Girsu, which is more suitable for going first. So that was the first combo. Again, keeping in mind this is a Ninja Krawler deck list, so you're probably wondering what we can do with Hanzo. Hanzo is obviously very, very strong. So upon him being summoned in general, he can let you add a Ninjutsu Art card from deck to hand. So generally the card that we're going to be adding off of that is Ninjutsu Art Notebook of Mystery. And then now, generally, if we're going first, we'll have to set this card because it can't be used unless the opponent controls a card on their field. It's a little bit of a downside, but to be honest, it's not that big of a deal. But what it does is this allows us to set a ninja monster and a Ninjutsu Art spell trap directly from our deck or graveyard to our side of the field, but only one card can come from each place. So if you have a ninja, it can come from the graveyard or the deck. But then if you grab a ninja from the grave, you have to grab a Ninjutsu Art from deck, and then vice versa. So if you grab a Ninjutsu Art from grave, you have to grab a ninja from deck. And then you set them both to your field. So what I'd like to do is, during the opponent's turn, I'll go Notebook of Mystery. And then this will allow me to basically set almost anything I want. I mean, the world's your oyster. But generally what I'll do is I'll set either an Iron Digger or a Dancing Leaves on the opponent's turn. Yes, you don't get much, like you can't activate these cards to turn their set, but the point is that it's just free bodies, and you can even grab a Geo the Gravity Ninja as well on the opponent's turn, and now this gives the opponent something to really think about and consider or try to play around. Alternatively, if you are going first and you don't want to do that, what you can do is you can go Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves off the Hanzo, set the Dancing Leaves, and then in the opponent's turn, you can go Dancing Leaves, tributing the Hanzo, and then special summon any ninja directly from your deck, which can even be the Geo, and then Geo obviously gets to use his more proactive effect to book 2 cards, and if they're opponent's monsters, they stay permanently booked face down, which is obviously very strong. Again, doesn't seem very impactful, but ninjas have this way of like kind of out-resourcing your opponent, especially with extenders like Mitsu and whatnot. Now, let's talk about what happens to this combo if we throw a Krawler into the mix. Specifically, Krawler Soma. We'll go normal summon Hanzo effect. We'll activate, grabbing us a Ninjutsu Art. In this case, we'll go ahead and grab our Dancing Leaves. We can set that to our field. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go Soma effect, targeting our Hanzo, booking it face down, to then special the Soma for free from our hand. And then we'll go Soma effect to special 2 more Krawlers from our hand, deck, or graveyard, in face-up attack and or face-down defense position, which is obviously very strong. And generally what I'll do is I'll summon a Spine, and then we'll even grab something like a Receptor just so we have follow-up. And keep in mind the Krawler Soma's level is now 2, because its level was reduced. And then what we'll do here is we'll usually link these cards off, either for our copy of X-Krawler Coeliarch, which is obviously very strong, or we can also go into something like an IP Masquerena even, which is pretty cool. So if you want to go for a Masquerena line, we'll link both the Soma and the Spine off. And then on the opponent's turn, keep this in mind, we're going to go Dancing Leaves, tributing our Hanzo, and then we can still special summon a ninja from our deck, like Geo, booking 2 cards. And then if that isn't even enough, we still have the IP to go ahead and quick link on the opponent's turn into either a triple burst dragon, or if we want even more disruption, we can go into something like a Nightmare Unicorn, which is obviously very strong. And that's just, you know, combining the Krawler package with, you know, the ninja side of things. Now, if we didn't want to make the IP, another card we could have gone into using both the Spine and the Soma, because keep in mind they are level 2s. Another card we could have actually made would be the number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito, which is just a generic rank 2 monster. And this can also put a lot of pressure on our opponent, as well as force him into battle. Which obviously, if we control set monsters, you know, like flips and stuff, they'll trigger on attack declaration, or not attack declaration, but in damage step, which is obviously very strong. So I like just the flexibility of this deck. And again, this is more of a fun / casual list. You know, this deck is very, very fun to pilot. It's just something you can bring to locals and mess around with, or even play it with your friends. Like I said, I have a lot of fun with it, and the Krawler package is just basically free extension. Keep in mind, you know, it doesn't have to be ninja related. Like, obviously this is a Ninja Krawler deck, but you can still do the same thing with the Girsu line, especially if the Girsu does get stopped by like a hand trap or something. As long as you have a Krawler Soma, you just book this face down and then just continue extending and keep playing. So now that we got some of the more preliminary combos out of the way, I want to go ahead and pile shuffle the deck, and we're going to do a test hand so you guys can get a more broader scope of what this deck actually is like. And let me know down in the comments below if you guys want to see a live duel with this deck, or any of the more decks, any of the decks that I posted to the channel recently. I know I haven't done a live duel video in quite a while, and that's partly because I've noticed that they don't really gain that many views. But that, again, if you guys want that, I mean, just let me know in the comments. I have no problems giving you a live duel. I just have to find time to record it, and obviously have a friend of mine come through and help me record that video for you guys. So if you guys want to see a live duel with either this deck or any of the decks that I've brought to the channel recently, just let me know, chime down in the comments below, and I will do my best to make that happen. You know, maybe, like I said, if we get to 1,500 subs, I can maybe bring you guys a series of live duels, potentially, as a thank you for getting support to the channel. But we've got a few good shuffles here. Now we're going to go ahead and cut the deck list, and we're going to play this out like we're going first. And let's see what we get. We got Contact C, Terrors in the Hidden City, Tenchi Kaime, Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, and a World Legacy Pawns. So this hand's interesting. I mean, even if we went second, we at least have a pretty decent hand trap. Again, I've been testing with Contact C. It's actually been putting in a lot of work against some of these decks. You'd be surprised how awkward their lines become when they have to use this as material for their summons. Some decks just auto-lose to this, which is obviously very funny. But anyway, so we drew at least a starter in the form of Hanzo, so obviously that's pretty strong. So let's go ahead and normal summon Hanzo, activate effect to search for a ninjutsu art. In this particular case, we're probably going to go ahead and grab ourselves a copy of Dancing Leaves. And then what we can do here, obviously we can set the Dancing Leaves, we can go ahead and activate the Terrors in the Hidden City, and then we can even activate Tenchi Kaime here if we so choose. Since technically, if the opponent tries to destroy this or banish it, it floats into any number of ninjas from our grave to our field and face down defense. So it's effectively a soul charge if the opponent destroys or banishes it, which is really, really disgusting. But yeah, and then we can also set the pawns or choose to hold it. I mean, it just really depends, and at least we have the Contact C. So again, obviously a very casual deck. This is not designed to be a meta-breaking deck list. This is just something that I brought to the channel, you know, more for fun. But it is a very competent deck. I do feel like you could take this to a locals and do very well with this. I know this doesn't look very strong, and that's partly because this deck's end boards are extremely unassuming. Like I said, during the opponent's turn, you know, we'll go Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves, tributing the Hanzo, immediately making the Tenchi Kaime live if they do decide to destroy or banish it. And then we have a plethora of ninjas that we can summon off of this. Obviously the best one being Geo, because he's just the best disruption. But if we don't want to go for Geo, I mean, again, this is obviously hand contingent, but if we had a ninja in the hand, we could go for Tabari, the Sky Ninja, and then obviously use Tabari's quick effect to fuse using himself and a ninja in the hand to make any one of our ninja extra deck cards, which is pretty strong. We could even go for the Kagero, the Cannon Ninja, if we so chose, or if we so wish, and then that'll revive the Hanzo back and face down defense upon summon. Because we have Terrors in the Hidden City, when this does get flipped, it'll gain 1500 attack and defense. That would have worked out nicely if we did also set the pawns, because then if we do summon the Kagero, we bring the Hanzo back, and then we can go pawns to flip the Hanzo face up, which is obviously really cracked. Not only triggering Hanzo's effect when he's flipped, but also, again, because of Terrors in the Hidden City, he'd gain the 1500 attack and defense boost. So then we can use Hanzo to then search for a ninja monster from deck to hand, since that's what he does when he's flipped face up, which is obviously pretty cool. So that is one test hand. Now, let's go ahead and shuffle this back, and we'll do another test hand before we wrap things up. But like I said, man, hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. Like I said, I know I've haven't posted anything in a couple days. It has been taking a bit of a small break. Work's been kind of taking its toll on me. And I've also been finding time to do testing on the side, just to ensure that the deck lists I'm bringing you guys are obviously optimized and, you know, tested. I refuse to bring anything to this channel that is, you know, obviously unplayable. Although I do tend to focus on more, you know, rogue and casual decks, doesn't mean that the stuff that I'm bringing you guys has to suck. So, like I said, this deck is really, really strong and just tons of fun to play with, honestly. Like I said, if you guys want to see a live duel showcasing this deck, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will do everything in my power to make that a reality for you guys. So we got a few good shuffles in. We're going to go ahead and cut, just so you guys know I'm not trying to cheat or top deck. We're going to play this out like we're going first. We drew Hanzo, Droll Lock, Instant Fusion, Book of Moon, and a Krawler Receptor. Now this is a very interesting hand. I would say this hand is even better than our first test hand. Although our first test hand obviously wasn't bad either. But again, if we were going second, we do have the Droll at least to slow things down for our opponent. Obviously, of course, we're going to lead with the Hanzo, per usual. Normal summon, use the effects to search for a ninjutsu art. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and do a Dancing Leaves, because that is just really good disruption. And then what we can do here is we can even take this a step further. We can go Instant Fusion, pay 1,000 of our life points. And this is going to get us into our Master of Ham. Brand new out of Phantom Nightmare. A very cool, unique tech card that we're running for this deck, or flip decks in general, get a huge benefit. If this card is fusion summoned or flip face up, you can special summon a flip monster from your hand or deck in face down defense position. So obviously that is really strong. So this Master of Ham can actually, if we wanted to, turbo into a Deus Ex Krawler as well. So I think that's what we're honestly going to go ahead and grab, because Deus Ex is a flip monster, so we can grab ourselves a Deus Ex directly from deck off of the Master of Ham effect. Really crazy instant fusion target, especially for a deck like this. Then what we can do here is we can go set our Dancing Leaves, set our Book of Moon, and then if we really do want to get crazy with it, we can link these off. And we can go into literally either an IP Masquerade line, or we can even go for like a Dark the Dark Charm or Gloomy, which is pretty cool, because if this does get destroyed on the opponent's turn, this does float into another Hanzo, or it can even get us into our Orcus Girsu line as well, which is pretty cool. And then what we'll do is we'll just keep the Receptor and keep the Droll in hand, and then pass turn, literally having a Deus Ex, you know, lying in the weights for our opponent. And then we have, really cool, we have Book of Moon. We can book one of their monsters, disrupting their lines. But then at resolution of that, we can go Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves, because not many people know this, but this can allow us to tribute a ninja monster or a face-down defense monster on the field. So we can actually tribute the opponent's monster that was booked, allowing us to then special summon a ninja from our deck, which is obviously really cool. I mean, you guys know we can play summon out a Mitsu, for example, in this particular scenario. And why we'd want to do that is because Mitsu is now live, since we have a set monster on our field. If they attempt to activate a monster effect and keep trying to extend, we can go Mitsu effect, flipping this face up, and now that the Deus Ex Krawler is flipped, they no longer have access to monster effects. So this is, like I said, just kind of the funny, silly stuff that this deck can pull off. Plus, we also had Droll, so I find it pretty hard to believe that any deck is going to be able to play through Droll plus a skill drain. you know, they would need a very specific hand in order to do that. But like I said, at the end of the day, this is really just a fun deck, and then obviously they probably pass turn back to us, at which point we draw the Orcust. If they did out the Dark Charmer, like I said, Dark would float into either this or another copy of Hanzo anyway. So we definitely have tons of follow-up for our subsequent turns. And then, like I said, once we get the Deus Ex established, it's just pretty hard to break out of that lock most of the time. But like I said, this is my combos and test hands for my Ninja Krawler deck list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the minor deck tweaks and updates that I've made to it. And like I said, if you guys want to see a live duel video, just chime down in the comments. Let me know. I'm very active with my, you know, YouTube community. And I know that some of my live duels in the past haven't gained a lot of traction, but if that's something you guys want to see, I have absolutely no problem bringing that to you guys. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the content. Like and subscribe. And with that being said, this is Nick hitting that end phase. Thank you all so much and have a good evening.